I understand all of that.
That's good. At least someone does. Well, hi there, welcome back to A Bus and Beyond, and it's another van update for you today. It's been a little while actually since we've done a van update, mainly because the weather really has not played ball. It's made it really tricky. I had actually done quite a bit to the van before, like this all happened quite a while ago. In the last video, we discussed the water system that we're going to put in the boiler and all that kind of stuff, and that's the Bobil van's air heater, the hybrid version, which gives us loads of flexibility. So if you haven't seen that already, make sure you check that out. That'll be linked in the description below. That'll give you an insight as to how that system all works and what options that gives us for heating hot water inside the van. So I have started on that, but there's a few other things I've done beforehand. And the first thing, probably a couple of videos ago, I don't know if it was the last video or the video before that, when we installed the kitchen, I mentioned that we'd gone for the bamboo worktop, and there are a few areas where water had splashed on it and it left marks, and I was a bit desperate to try and get that sealed. Postman just went past. I don't know if it's going to our house or not.
I just thought, oh, he's broken.
Yeah, so I wanted to treat the bamboo worktop and protect it. I asked in that video if anyone could recommend anything, and loads of people came back and said Osmo top oil. So that's what we went for. We trust your judgment, and yeah, it's worked a treat. So what I did is I lightly sanded back everything, all the worktop. Didn't need too much, but as I sanded it, I could see that the watermarks were coming out of the actual wood, which just meant that I was obviously doing something. It was just coming back a bit, and also it just got much smoother. Around the edges it was a little bit abrasive in places, but sanded all that back and then did about 3 coats of Osmo top oil. I just used a rag, I think, and just basically you tip it out, put it on, and yeah, and I was a little bit worried as to how it's going to look. So what I actually did first was this insert. This is the insert that goes in here, because I thought if worse comes to worse and I don't like it, mess it up or anything like that, it's a lot cheaper to get a replacement little worktop piece from Evo Motion than it is to do the whole thing. So yeah, and anyway, it came out really, really nice. You can see it's just slightly deeper in colour than how it is before it's treated. But yeah, and also we've just come into the van. Every time you open the van, if it's been raining, a little bit of water drips down onto the side here, and the water was sat on the top of the worktop rather than soaking in. I wiped it away and there's no watermarks at all, so it's obviously doing the trick. That is why you can see here the hob is been removed again. I actually need to plumb that in, plumb the gas lines in, and then actually drop it back in and secure it in place. But yeah, it looks good. You can see this is why I've masked off around here just whilst I was treating that. But yeah, I'm pleased with it. It looks good. It still retains the sort of the natural grain and the colour pretty much to the same as how it was from before we started, but now, yeah, look, it's just treated, which is the main thing. Right, and then we move on to the water system. So in the last video I explained where I thought I was going to put everything. Now that all completely changed for a couple of reasons. Firstly, once I got all the pump and everything, I realised I wasn't going to quite have enough space to put the water tank at the back there. Also, there's a little bit of compromise. Either because the system that we're using can use the diesel heater to heat the hot water, you have a heat exchanger that ideally needs to be fairly close to the diesel heater, which in our case is underneath the front seat, and then that heat exchanger takes the water, the warm water, to the water tank and stores it in there. So I didn't really want a massive long run of hot water to get to the water tank where it will then be stored. So Anyway, what I did is I swapped everything around a bit. But the first mistake I made was the water pump. When I was researching that, I was under the impression that, I'm sure I read somewhere, that the water came in the right hand side as you look at it, and then out, then it pumps it out the left hand side. So what I had originally planned was, this is the water tank. I planned to come out the back with the water pipe, and I fixed this board here where I was going to put the water pump, the accumulator, and then run the water. The water would then run this way to where I put all the heat exchange and everything like that. However, when it arrived, that wasn't the case. It actually runs the opposite way. So obviously, if I put the water pump on here, the water pipe would have come out here. It'd have had to have gone like that and then back that way again. So it would have just been just would have looked messy, and it'd have been a longer run than was necessary. I mean, it wasn't a complete waste of time, because one good thing about this board and the framework around it, it sat right underneath. It's wedged in really tightly underneath the water tank. Now the water tank has got brackets all the way around, but it just supports a little bit of the weight of the water tank when this is full. This is a 100-litre tank, so 100 kilos once it's full of water. That's quite a hefty weight to be carrying around. So yeah, it just gave us a bit more peace of mind, just to give a bit more sturdiness to this big tank. I mean, 100 kilos, that's about 2 of me. So yeah, what are you laughing at? What? So I actually put everything at the back, so let's go and have a look at that.
Ta-da!
Da-da-da-da.
Gosh, it's messy.
Yes, I'm afraid it is. It's work in progress. Right, so what I actually chose to do was mount everything on another board at the back here. So you can see here we've got the water pump. This is a Sureflow, what's it called? It's 20 psi anyway, so it's whichever one the 20 psi one is.
Shall we put it on the screen?
Yeah, it's got a name. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, it'd be on the screen. It's probably one of the most common ones used in van conversions, but it's ideal. It's 20 psi. The Bobil van's system can use up to 30 psi, so yeah, we're well within limits, and it should be plenty powerful enough to give us enough pressure on the water. You have a little filter just before, that just takes out any rubbish that is in the water beforehand, so that just protects the pump. I think basically the warranty on these is only valid if you have a filter, an inline filter beforehand, so it's ideal that you obviously make sure you put one of those in beforehand. The water comes out of here, there's an isolator. Everything is 12mm water pipe, and I've been using push fit John Guest fittings. So it's really easy to work with. However, it is an absolute minefield trying to work out what you need, what connector you need. The amount of times I've come into the van, done a bit of work, realised, oh, I've not got the right connector, so I've had to stop, order it. It takes a couple of days to arrive, then it's inevitably another couple of days before I get around to doing some work. You start again, and then you realise there's another connector you need. So it's been, yeah, a bit of a minefield. Just this bit here, you can see you've got like a 1/2-inch screw bit into a 12mm push fit, into a 12mm isolator, into a 12mm T-bar, which then I've got to turn this corner, so I bought this, which is a 12mm fitting that will slot in here, and then I have to put a little bit of pipe in between those. You just have a real mix of different connectors, and some is in imperial, so it was like 1/2-inch or 3/4 inch, and then other bits are in metric, in millimeters. It's just stupid. Anyway, and the other thing is, because it's 12mm rather than domestic household stuff uses 15mm, I can't just pop to B&Q and have a look at what I need. I have to do everything online, which just makes it a little bit trickier. So that's why it's taken a while. So this is the pipe that we've been using. It's available in loads of different colours. So we've used blue, like most people do, for cold water, and I've not ordered it yet, but I'll get some red for hot water. Get some decent enough cutters. You just basically slice through your pipe work. It's really easy to cut through, but it gives a nice clean cut. They're just from Amazon, they're not very expensive. Things like that will be linked in the description below if you need anything like that. And then we've used inserts. So you basically put these inserts in the end there, just tap them in, and then you put, once that insert is in there, in fact that's a bit of pipe with an insert in. They're like impossible to get out again once it's in, so I'm not going to shove it in there. And then it just push fits into, you can see that, into the fitting, and that's it in. Then it won't come out. You have to push down on this collar and struggle to get it out. Thankfully I don't need this bit. They're a bit of a pain to get out sometimes, as you can see. I'm going to have to order another one of these now. There we go, it's out. So yeah, as you can see, it's unlikely that it's going to come out and cause a leak. So that's the pipework that we're using. It's nice and flexible, but also nice and strong and can take quite high pressure as well. So the water comes out of the water tank. It's going to tee off this way, be pumped this way round through an accumulator. The accumulator basically is it's like a rubber diaphragm inside. What it does is, the way the pump works is if it detects a slight reduction in the pressure, it starts pumping. So basically if you open a tap, a bit of water trickles out, it goes, hang on a minute, there's not enough pressure anymore in the system, so it starts pumping. That's why it then forces the water out the tap. Because we've got plastic piping and a fairly long run of piping, there's invariably going to be slight changes in pressure all the time. And if you don't have an accumulator, occasionally the pump will start running just to boost that pressure. So every so often it will run for a little bit. We don't really want that, because although these pumps are quiet, they're not silent, so you just don't want to hear a pump running occasionally. So you put an accumulator in, that rubber diaphragm just takes away some of that pressure. It just allows the pressure to alter without the pump kicking in. And then from the accumulator it goes up through another isolator. I put another isolator in just because if I want to work on any of this, I can isolate here, isolate there, and then work on these two pumps. The water, if the isolator is not turned off, will then carry on up along the top here and go off to our water system, which we'll have a look at in a minute. The reason I've put a T in here is because there will be a piece of pipe in the end there that will run parallel to this, and we'll have a drain plug on the outside. This will all be boxed in on the outside of this boxed in area, and that will basically allow us to drain this water system, and also should give us a bit of a trickle of water if we needed to fill up a bowl. I don't know. Yeah, if this is full, this is still quite a bit of pressure even without a pump, so it will just allow us to open up a tap at the end there, maybe fill a bowl up for Bentley or something like that. So it should be good. I might even look at, if it's required, maybe adding another little pump that might be able to then pump water to an outdoor shower, or I don't know, but I don't really need that. The main thing is it just allows us to drain the tank as and when required. So like I say, a couple of parts there: water pump, accumulator, and then it runs up, and it's just on this board of wood on here, which just keeps it a bit more secure. I've used these small 12mm clips as well all the way around just to secure the pipe, and again they're from Amazon, so I'll put a link to those in the description below because they're not always the easiest things to find. But then it runs up and goes over the top of the tank, and if you want to just pop back in the van, we'll have a look at where it goes after that.
Is your torch broken?
Run out of battery. Oh, I'll have to use my phone then. Right, that water pipe then carries on over the top of the water tank, and it gets this T-piece here. The reason for that is it's now a pressurised system. It will come along here and it will tee off, and I fit a batten underneath the bed, and the water pipe will run underneath here. Firstly, it'll tee off to the cold supply, which will be here for the shower, once that's all installed in about 58 years. And then it'll continue as well all the way round and up to the kitchen, and will supply the cold water feed for the kitchen. So that's why that's in there. Also, it needs to carry on, so it carries on past that T-piece, down the front of the water tank and into this portion here, which is the Bobil system. Right, I hope you're following this. It's a bit, I don't know, it could probably come across a bit complicated on the camera, but once you lay everything out and use the Bobil van's instructions, it's actually really quite straightforward. It just takes time. I think
you're explaining it very well.
Oh, that's good. Right, the water pipe comes down here, like I said, the front of the water tank to the bottom here, where it then joins on to the rubber pipe from the Bobil vans. It goes through this isolator, the cold water, remember, goes into here and then up into the heat exchanger. Now this heat exchanger converts, you can see here we've slightly modified the diesel heater. Ducting comes out of the diesel heater into this control valve, where you can basically choose which way the hot air goes. Just sat in the middle at the minute, so it does partly into the van, which is what this pipe does. It's not secured in yet, but this will go into the boxing in, which will all be in here, and basically out the side of that through a vent, and it'll heat the van. The other portion of it goes into the heat exchanger and warms up this, essentially this radiator. The water goes through this radiator, gets warmed up inside the heat exchanger. The warm water comes out of here and into the tank. So once it's in the tank, it stays there, stays warm. You could also supplement it with 12-volt power just to top up to make it even warmer. That's what the wiring is all for and everything like that. Once you've got the warm water, it comes out of the top here of the tank, and it actually goes, you can't really see because it goes underneath here, but it comes back through this small pump here. It's a tiny little pump which then pumps the water back round again, back through the heat exchanger, and it just continues to keep it pumping round and round, keeping it warming up constantly and getting nice warm water. Things like this here is a non-return valve, so it makes sure that the water only goes one way, and it just keeps it warming up until you're ready to use it, in which case it's not connected at the minute, but there's a little coupling here which will then be joined on to a red pipe when I get round to installing that, which will then go up again back underneath the bed into that batten and go to the hot part, the hot tap for the shower, and also tee off and carry on to the kitchen here and to the hot side of the tap there, allowing us to have hot water in both the shower and the kitchen.
I understand all of that.
That's good. At least someone does. So the changes that I did there compared to what you saw in the last video, I'd originally planned to put the water tank at the back, but you can see how I don't really want all these rubber hoses extending massively. The heat exchanger needs to be near the diesel heater to get maximum efficiency. Obviously the diesel heater, when it's heating air through those ducts, that hot air starts getting cooler quite quickly, so I wanted it nice and close. What will then also happen, the hot air also comes out of here, out the back. Any unused hot air that hasn't heated water comes out the back here, and we'll just have a vent in the side of the shower area, and it will heat the shower room up as well. So the only sacrifice that we have by moving everything over here is we will not be able to heat the garage. I'm not too bothered about that, because a couple of things we can do. Either, you know, if it looks like it's beginning to be a problem when we actually start spending time in the van more, I can get a little 12-volt heater or something and attach it on the side, so when we're on hookup we can easily just power it there. Or there'll be a door here, so you'll be able to access the garage from here, from this portion into the garage. So just open the door, let the warm air get in that way. I don't think it's not going to be like -2 in the garage and 30 degrees in this bit. It's not really, yeah, it's not going to be that different, is it? So I'm not.
How hot are we having this heater?
How hot is our house? We can't heat the garage, but I'm not too bothered. Also, you know, I might keep the beer in there. It'd be lovely and cool, like having a cellar. It'd be great. The real good thing about having everything under this portion of the bed is I've made sure that it all fits in like this footprint here. this is all going to be boxed in, and then I will close it off so it's a little bit quieter, but you'll be able to just lift this up, lift a board up, and you can easily access and service any of this part of the boiler. So I think that is more useful than heating the garage, to be honest. Also, the other good thing is, if we had carried on running the diesel heater ducting to get to the garage, that's quite a big thick ducting that you have to get past the shower floor, whereas in this circumstance here, we've come out the side here for the shower, short run, and then the shower tray can go right up against the edge here, because it'll just be a couple of pipes and that's it that will run that way. But a quick question for you guys, has anyone actually run cold plastic pipe next to hot plastic pipe, and if so, how far apart do I need to put them? Because I like to get them as close as possible. Basically, when this hot water pipe carries on back this way, I like to run them really close, but is that going to make the cold pipe warm?
Can you not use a thermal covering on the hot one?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, could put a thermal cover on, but also I probably shouldn't be too worried, because certainly at this portion here, because this cold pipe that's going this way is eventually going to get warm water anyway, so it's probably just going to help it warm up if there is a bit of cross thermal properties between them. Whereas obviously once the hot water and the cold water carry on to the actual tap, I do want them to be separate, which I can do that underneath the bed. So that is the yeah, a lot of the Bobil van's air hybrid system plumbed in. I can't test it at the minute because it's not all complete. Yeah, I just need to do a bit more. I also, once I've got the actual tap in, I'm going to try and get the cold water feed to the tap sort of straight away. At least then, if we can get cold water in here, that'd be great. But obviously, for me to be able to do that, I also need to sort the drainage out. At the minute, you can see it here, this is just an open hole into the abyss, so you can't really put water down there yet. So that's another thing I need to tackle.
I actually think you explained that exceptionally well. And what's funny is I really had no idea what Sean had been doing in here. I didn't even realise that he'd attached the... You
have no idea what it is, do you?
I don't have a clue. It's,
water tank?
Water tank, yeah. I've got baby brain. Forgive me. I
You
haven't
can't use that forever.
I can, and I will. But yeah, the water tank, I didn't even know that had been moved to there. For some reason, I thought it was under the chair a bit further forward, but no, I didn't realise it was further back. But that's perfect, that location for it, because we didn't know what we were going to do with that bit. But no, I think you've done a good job. I really had no idea what you'd done, but now I understand it. So if it breaks, though, I'm still going to leave the repairing to you. Christmas is coming. Should we hug whilst we do this?
No, get off me. Right, so there we have it. I hope that explains a fair bit of what's been going on. It's
well, it's told me a lot about what you've been doing. I have been busy. I have gone back to work for a few days, and I've been looking after the kids, obviously. So
enjoying your maternity holiday. Right, what we got coming up?
We've got quite a lot coming up, actually. So next week we actually have 2 videos for you, one of which is going to be a van tour of a Swift Carrera 184.
Nice van, actually.
Yeah, very nice van. And then we've got a power bank that we're having a look at.
Yep.
On the note of power banks, we actually have a huge giveaway for Christmas for you guys, so that's coming up as well. Then on top of that, we obviously have more that we're doing in the van. We've got more products coming for it, so there's lots to come. And also we're going to start thinking about what we're going to do next year. Yes, yeah, we've already sort of in the planning phases for our summer trip. If you found this video interesting, please do consider hitting that like button, and also consider subscribing as well, because it really helps us out. Yeah, genuinely, it really helps us bring you lots of free content about van tours, our own self-conversion, lots of tips and tricks, plus places that you can visit in your van. So yeah, it helps us bring you lots of quality content for the future. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye. Bye. My mum doesn't know we're done yet. Should we just have a little nap in the van whilst the kids are being looked after by Grandma?